In 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte crowns himself Emperor of France, but in this alternate timeline, his ambitions stretch further. After decisively defeating Prussia, Austria, and Russia, he proclaims himself Emperor of a unified Europe. The coronation, held at Notre Dame Cathedral, is attended by subdued monarchs of conquered nations, symbolizing the end of independent European kingdoms. Maps displayed show all of Europe under French control, with borders redrawn to reflect Napoleon's dominance. With Europe under his control, Napoleon turns his gaze westward. Fearing the growing influence of the young United States, he convenes his top generals in a secret war room in Paris. Maps of U.S. coastal defenses, obtained through French spies, cover the tables. Napoleon argues that America's expansion threatens French interests in the Caribbean and Atlantic trade. His plan, a preemptive strike to cripple the U.S. economy and assert French dominance in the New World. French shipyards in Brest and Toulon work around the clock to prepare for transatlantic warfare. Captured British and Spanish ships are retrofitted into the French fleet, their hulls reinforced for long voyages. Thousands of troops drill on docks, awaiting deployment. Napoleon's naval strategy relies on overwhelming force. 50 ships of the line and 30,000 soldiers are mobilized. The goal: establish a foothold in the Caribbean before launching attacks on U.S. ports. The French Armada arrives in the Caribbean, seizing key sugar islands like Saint-Domingue and Guadeloupe. Plantations are burned to disrupt U.S. trade, and local militias are crushed by veteran French troops. In Havana, Spanish authorities reluctantly cooperate under threat of invasion. Napoleon's forces establish supply bases, but resistance simmers among enslaved populations and British privateers. The stage is set for a proxy war that will draw the U.S. into open conflict. News of French aggression reaches Washington, sparking outrage. President James Madison addresses a joint session of Congress, invoking the spirit of the Revolutionary War. Federalists oppose the war, but Democratic Republicans rally behind the slogan, "Remember Yorktown." On July 4, 1812, the U.S. declares war on France. State militias mobilize, and privateers are commissioned to harass French shipping. The young nation prepares to defend its sovereignty against Europe's conqueror. French forces, veterans of Austerlitz and Jena, clash with Andrew Jackson's ragtag army in the swamps outside New Orleans. Napoleon's troops, accustomed to European battlefields, struggle in the muddy terrain. Jackson's sharpshooters pick off officers, while artillery duels thunder across the Mississippi. After a brutal day of fighting, the French retreat, but their disciplined withdrawal hints at a larger strategy: a northern invasion via Canada. Napoleon's diplomats broker a secret pact with Quebecois nationalists, promising independence from Britain in exchange for support. In Montreal, French officers distribute uniforms to rebel forces, while British loyalists flee to Ontario. The combined Franco-Canadian army marches south, aiming to split the U.S. along the Hudson River. For the first time, the war threatens to engulf the American heartland. U.S. generals scramble to fortify the northern border. In August 1814, French troops replicate the British feat of burning Washington. The White House and Capitol are set ablaze as First Lady Dolly Madison rescues priceless artifacts. Unlike the British, however, Napoleon's forces occupy the city for a week, looting archives and symbolically erecting a tricolor flag. The humiliation galvanizes American resistance, but also exposes the U.S. government's vulnerability. Guerrilla warfare becomes the new strategy. American militias, leveraging the rugged Appalachian terrain, ambush French supply convoys and communication lines. Sharpshooters like Davy Crockett become folk heroes. Napoleon, frustrated by the asymmetrical warfare, orders reprisals against civilians, further alienating local support. As winter sets in, French troops, unprepared for the harsh climate, suffer from disease and starvation. The invasion stalls, mirroring Napoleon's disastrous Russian campaign. By 1815, both nations are exhausted. With revolts brewing in Europe and the U.S. economy in shambles, diplomats meet in Ghent to negotiate peace. The treaty restores pre-war borders but leaves the Caribbean under French influence. Napoleon withdraws his troops to suppress rebellions in Germany and Italy. The U.S., though battered, emerges with its sovereignty intact. Europe's unification begins to crumble, setting the stage for Napoleon's eventual downfall at Waterloo.